Hey everyone, what's going on? It's your boy DJ Big C, and I just want to let you guys know that every Tuesday you guys can tune in into Real Community Talks, the only place to be on a Tuesday night at 6 p.m. with my boy, Matt Da Silva. Big up.
Welcome to Real Community Talks, where real conversations with community influencers are made available to everyone. I'm your host, Matt Da Silva, and on today's episode, we have probably the dopest dressing government worker out there, my good friend Allison Morris on the episode today. Allison, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
So for those two waste people who don't know who Allison is,
Thank you.
I had to literally narrow this down, because if I said anything here, you guys can just go on her LinkedIn page. But to summarize, she's the dopest, multifaceted female public servant I know. She is the CEO and fashion designer of a high-end fashion, sportswear, and streetwear company called Neek. Am I pronouncing that right?
That is
okay,
correct.
Sweet. Is currently working for Canada's sixth largest city as a development services analyst, but formerly held roles as a committee of adjustment technician, a planning assistant, an administrative assistant, and a customer service rep.
That's right.
She's also worked for the City of Brampton in various administrative roles, was a deputy returning officer for Elections Canada, a creative industries planner, a retail architect, and basically just has been hustling and elevating her portfolio like no tomorrow. So was that accurate?
Thank you.
Did I leave anything out?
No.
Okay. So with that, why don't we segue into what's your origin story? So who is Allison Morris and where are you from?
Okay, so I'm Allison. My full name's Allison Monique Morris. I'm from Brampton. When I say from Brampton, I always like to, when speaking about like a home, a place, I kind of think about like, you know, where you live, work, and play. So I always say that I sleep in Brampton, but I live and work elsewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up in Brampton. I was born in North York. I went to school in Brampton, Morton Way. Then I went to middle school, Centennial. And then I would say, and in about high school, that's when I really started with my fashion aspirations. Well, actually, I should say a little bit before that. In grade 8, we did an assignment where we basically got to design our own city.
Yeah.
And I thought that this would be a lovely opportunity for me to design a city that would kind of be focused around me, where I could decide where everything would be. So I guess it came from like a selfish desire at first. But no, that class really made me understand and made me think about how geography could be like an element for more so designing such forth.
Definitely.
So in about grade 12, after, you know, doing civics and whatnot, one of my teachers, my science teacher, Miss Chohan, she's like, hey, like, not to say what do you want to do with your life, but what do you want to do with yourself? I said to her, like, yeah, like, I kind of want to like design cities. I like fashion at the same time. So after, you know, speaking to my parents, I'm Jamaican, I should say.
Yeah.
They weren't too encouraging, let's say, about my fashion aspirations. My mom actually came to Canada as a seamstress.
Okay.
So at that time, you know, they kind of pushed me towards like finding a real practical, a more practical career, whatnot.
Yeah.
So what I decided, I'm like, you know what? I kind of still want to do fashion. I don't want to do design at the same time. So Miss Chohan, we looked at different programs at different schools, and Ryerson University had a Bachelors of Urban Regional Planning, which is called the Burpee.
Yeah.
And then as well, Ryerson was the only university who actually did a fashion management course.
Yeah.
So I devised a plan where I would basically start doing urban regional planning, and maybe by like, you know, first, second year, I could segue into my real aspirations fashion. That didn't necessarily not happen, but I was able to, going to Ryerson was a lovely opportunity.
Yeah.
Met a lot of great people.
That's awesome.
Within my last year, actually, I came back to do a certificate of architecture. And during that time too, that's when I think my fashion aspirations really started developing even more. So I decided, like, you know what, there's a lot of things I want to make. A lot of things I want to wear. I'm not able to find them. So I decided, like, you know what, let me start designing clothes.
Wow.
I reached out that point of time to Ryerson University's fashion department. And because I was not a student in fashion, I was actually allowed to make an internship and hire students. So they were able to get their 140 like community hours for their fashion major, whatnot. So through that opportunity, I basically hired a first year student, a third year student, and then that's how Neek kind of started exploding or building at that point of time.
So why don't we kind of just, I was going to ask kind of like, what is Neek? So did you, like, you know, obviously it kind of came into like you liking fashion, but like where did you come up with the name, and like how did it all get started?
Okay,
beyond
so Nique, as I mentioned before, my middle name is Monique,
Yeah.
which is actually the French version of my mom's name, Monica. So when I, not to say thought of the name Nique, I first wanted to have something that would embody or represent the type of clothing I was making as well. I wanted something to kind of signify back to my mom, just because like she's always been a prominent force in my life in terms of like from a career standpoint and just, you know, going after what you want.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just like, not to say Nique just came to me, but first I started running with Nique, and then from a more, I guess, rhythm standpoint, I then kind of started doing Nique X Boutique, because Nique was kind of embodying more so the uniqueness of my designs, and then Boutique more so represented like, you know, the retailing of it and such forth. So
Yeah, and you said that, I thought it was interesting. You said that like you couldn't find like the certain things that you want in terms of quality, in terms of the clothing, that you couldn't find it in the mainstream market. So that's kind of like what you do is I guess more like pristine quality type of material, right?
yes, and sorry, what I would mention too as well, similar to what my trade is being a planner, I'm always able to not only just forecast what's going to be in style next, but like I could tell you, okay, like this material is going to be the next thing, and every time I would be pinpoint
You're
on.
right. Wow.
So then it really got to the point, it's just like, I want to wear these things. The stores, not to say, are not up to the time yet, unless I go to the UK or England. Then so I kind of use myself as a resource in terms of like making that niche of like making it happen.
Yeah, awesome. So with multiple fashion lines out today, and with the rise of entrepreneurship, what sets Nique apart?
So Nique, I would say, is known for its timelessness, as well as being very stylish and it's being chic. One thing that I will say or notice, fashion is very oriented around being trendy, what's in style. I always look at fashion as a way to not only express yourself, but to be your own unique self and to like define who you are. So in terms of like current fashion brands, what I notice is a lot of people, you have to make a choice. Are you gonna be going for what's trendy or kind of like what's quality? So sites like Fashion Nova and such forth, you can get the most trendiest thing, not to say you might be able to use it for a week or two or maybe 1 or 2 washes. So it kind of comes down to the decision of the customer, kind of like what are they trying to achieve, right? Would you rather have something that's timeless, stylish for a long period of time that basically is, not to say a positive, or whereas then maybe have something trendy for a shorter span of time, whereas more with these fast fashion brands that are more trendy, there are a lot of like negative impacts to them from like, you know, overfilling of landfills, like the materials that are used in some of these more, not to say cheaper, but less quality goods, right? So I'm very prominent on not only having quality, but like, you know, good, efficient, chic, stylish.
Yeah. So with that, like, I'm not saying that you're just out there to make money, but obviously, like, you know, being able to hustle and make money off of your passion is definitely something everyone wants to do.
Of course.
But is it more so like in terms of like, for instance, like Kanye will put out Yeezy line and everyone's like, wow, that's trash. But like, because it's Kanye, they'll buy it. You know what I mean?
I can understand that.
Obviously, like, you know, developing your brand and getting a reputation out there. Is it more about for like the people who are specifically gonna buy it? Like, would you rather people pay the premium for your clothing because they're really into it, or because like what do you say to people who are just like, oh well, this is too expensive?
So I would say it comes to that decision making, right? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to get out of this, right? Because let's say a lot of the designs I do make are custom. So I will have one design, I can make it in many different prints, right? So for someone who is willing, not to say to pay a little bit more, they value more. So having something that someone else does not have is high quality. So it's not really, what I've noticed is not about necessarily carrying the name of Nique, but I more so create designs not only based on what I would want to wear too, but I've just noticed in this whole process of designing clothes, it really has made me become much more confident in who I am, myself, and expressing myself. So I like to use my brand like as a catalyst for people to be confident and like be bold in what they're wearing, because a lot of people are skeptical, like, hey, like, does this look good on me? But it's about owning it. So like, you are technically the mannequin, you're wearing the clothes, right? So my brand kind of more, my brand encompasses more on individuals, like basically using their body as like a way to express themselves at the same time. It's like not being, I don't know, I guess not being afraid of criticism and such, but just like being confident. So like being bold, being confident, owning who you are.
Yeah, loving your skin too. So what inspires you? Because I was checking out your website last night, and like crazy like designs and different types of things. Like I looked at it and I'm like, you can tell that it's not like a repeat of everything. So what inspires you? Like, is it as simple to like seeing something like on a commercial to like, you know, is it all just like what you think, or like what inspires you to
I would say there's a lot of influences that I have. I think one major one is traveling. Just traveling, seeing, you know, different styles, different people. I think that definitely influences the diversity and some of maybe the prints, the textures, or the things I try to like, let's just say, mesh into one design. So I would say definitely traveling is a major influence. Aside from that too, kind of going back to what my niche is, being like a creative industries designer, which is fashion, planning, and like architecture, I would say architecture, like in buildings, structures, influenced me in terms, especially in terms of the cuts, the fits of the different designs that I'm making. So I kind of use like the world as my canvas in the sense of like picking influences. Like each collection has a different meaning to me, and I have definitely different influences, maybe based on the patterns or the materials that I've used at a time, whether it was like neoprenes, I'm using more leathers, and kind of what's more trendy at that point of time.
No, I think that's so dope, because you have, I mean, like look at like more modern types of, in terms of like urban planning and architecture. So actually, before I get into my point, so what's it like, just for those that don't know, like what's the difference between urban planning and like architecture? Like,
okay,
because you did both of those, right?
That is correct. So I have my bachelor's in urban and regional planning. So urban planning is basically about controlling development. So planning goes through different approval processes depending on what you want to do. So let's say you're just trying to open up a beauty salon. From a site-specific standpoint, you might have to go through like a minor variance, more site-specific planning approvals. Whereas if you're trying to open up a plaza or build multiple houses, it's more of a intense planning process that you're going through, whether it's subdivision, going through rezoning, such forth. So planning basically are the controls and regulations of, in terms of externally programming what you like to do. Whereas architecture would actually deal with the actual building. So the actual built form and how it is programmed like internally.
I feel like that goes so hand in hand, and I think that kind of sets you apart in terms of like the field and the sector.
So what I would say, for example, like my line of work right now is a Development Services Analyst, which is in planning. I would more so relate to like the zoning bylaw, which tells you what you can do with your property. Whereas let's say an architect is more so going to deal with the building
the actual
code.
Structure.
Exactly. So that's going to tell you, for example, what you can do internally. So the best way to kind of like differentiate them, urban planning kind of deals with more of the outside context, whereas architecture is more the internal, the programming of that space, which some people might compare it to like interior design as well, but interior design does have influences on the building code kind of informs from an interior design standpoint of like safety and such for what you can do, right?
Yeah, and I love how you're able to, like, even though they might be in some areas stark differences, you're able to mesh your creativity and like your out of the box thinking in fashion to even in architecture and to urban planning. And I think that's so dope. And then also just in terms of like the new collection you're coming out. Why don't you kind of talk about that? I love the name Spartan. Like, I love how you put Spartanique, because it's like fierce female, but then it's like also it adds the nique into it too.
So Spartanique, which is actually funny, how I thought of the name and what the whole line is influenced about. I was reading a book. This book is called "Why Men Do Not Like Women Like You." I'm not gonna expose any of the secrets that is taught me in there, but that book basically kind of spoke about women being very powerful, being a creatress, goddess consciousness, which is my religious denomination or affiliation. And it just kind of spoke about, you know, being able to create your own reality. So the Spartanique collection more so is just shawls, 2 pieces, which I've just recently shot in Mexico. I might actually post a little bit of them soon coming up. I'm just in the editing process. But again, the line is supposed to represent people, women owning their bodies, being very confident, understanding and knowing that we are the creators of the world and we can make whatever in the universe possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of just already answered one of my questions. I was going to say, like, if any, what role has faith played in your life? And I guess just for those who don't understand, I mean, you kind of explained a little bit, but like I guess what kind of brought you into that goddess consciousness type of faith?
So I will say that this is very interesting because you actually went through the same way of my life with me. So when I was working at Malton as a community service representative, I think I was at this point in life where I finished school. I didn't necessarily have a job in my career. And like, not to say I wasn't satisfied, but like the pieces of the puzzle wasn't like, they weren't fitting in the way they were supposed to be. In that book that I was mentioning before too, it kind of speaks to like, there's no rules in life. Like, we create our own reality. So further to that, I developed this mind state. I was this reprogramming, this sneaking of myself. I started, applying for multiple jobs, and then one day, my sister Georgette, who's like one of my advocates in life, I was studying for an interview, and then she said to me, like, you know what, like, going to interview, you have to be very confident. You need to walk into the interview and act like you already have the job, and you're just basically coming there to screen them and decide which job that you're going to take.
A different way to think
when
about
I
it,
developed that level of like confidence,
at
that point in time, nothing was outside of my reach.
Wow.
So what I did was every job the city of Mississauga posted in planning and building, I applied within like the minute or the next minute after they applied, and I said to myself, I'm going to continue applying to every job until HR hires me.
Wow.
I started that about December 2015. By January 2016, I had like 4 different interviews in planning.
Wow.
And then that's just how this all, like, not to say spiraled out, but this is how it all started. So I'm a firm believer in creating your reality. And I really think it had to do a lot with my faith and my beliefs that really, not to say got me to where I was, but I at that time too, like through a reprogramming mind frame, I said to myself, like, you know what, like, what am I willing to sacrifice to get where I need to be? And what if, like, maybe these little habits of mine and little things that I do, like, that's what's stopping me from getting where I want to be? And I really believe that there was nothing that I was not willing to sacrifice to get what I needed. And that's when I believe this whole goddess consciousness started.
Wow. I guess that's true. I guess in terms of everyone, is like sometimes, and I was talking about this with Adrian on episode 3, is sometimes there's something bigger than us that kind of like needs to motivate us and just kind of gives us that extra push, because like you said, you read that and it just kind of propelled you into where you were, into being more confident in yourself, right? That's awesome. So one thing that I admire about you and inspires me, like I was gonna say this at the end, but I wouldn't have been in my master's today if it wasn't for Allison.
Don't say that.
We'd have like late night talks at like the front desk when we were working, and honestly, like, and I mean this with all sincerity, like, she pushed me because I seen her hustle and it inspires me. So one, that hustle just is gonna keep inspiring young people, and keep doing what you're doing and keep sharing it, because like your story needs to be told. But one thing I love is that you're changing the game for females in the public service, breaking that glass ceiling. Like I don't like, obviously, like, I'm not saying that I haven't seen. I think in terms of where we work, I think there's a lot of female representation in a lot of positions, but like, just adding that dopeness and fashion and all that kind of stuff, like I love your confidence in it, because I swear, like, every time we talk, you're in a different position or you're doing some kind of committee or whatever.
Exactly.
So like how did you how did you deal with, in terms of like that like always men getting these positions, or like how do you deal with, like, even just in terms of gender, people who are males mostly dominating positions, like what sets you apart? Like how do you get into those and just show that you're different?
To be honest, it's funny. I'm a very fair-minded individual, but life is not fair. I've come to that realization. So it's not that I necessarily look at, let's say, men as being a competition to, like, I look at us as being equals, right? So from a more feminist perspective, in terms of, I think in terms of from a quality of work standpoint, a lot of times it's not valued in terms of, let's say, more of like the personal work or the work that's done more in the personal sphere rather than in the public sphere. So I think it's very important. I would say that I have a lot of not say masculine tendencies, but in the sense that I'm very I love math, I love sciences. So those, I think, were very big drivers in, like, not only building my confidence, but kind of showing my skill sets in terms of being able to present myself and do these jobs at not only a rate that a man can do, but like that a woman can do too as well.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's kind of like what you said. So it's like being conscious. Yeah, obviously, you're a female, but that, because in the past people have been limited because they think, oh, I can't do this because of that. But you're like, I don't subscribe to anything. You make your reality.
Rules are not real. We're in the matrix. I'm telling you.
And you know what? And I think I'm even going through that in terms of me, like redefining what the 9 to 5 looks like for me. For me, I'm learning it's more kind of on the entrepreneurship side than just the 9 to 5 going to school, because you people buy into this idea that you go to school and you get a job and that's it. You have to, like, you got all those degrees, but you had to hustle to get where you are. You had to put yourself out there, and kind of segue into the next question. Like you, like, looking at like all of the breadth of your volunteer experience, like you're doing a lot of things for free, but like, do you feel like those experiences kind of also help you set you up where you are today?
It's balance. That's what I really feel like. I'm someone that likes to give back. At the same time, like, I think it's very important when helping someone, you have to help people who want to be helped. You can lead someone to water, but they don't want to actually drink it. That's kind of beyond
Facts,
you.
yeah.
So it does get overwhelming when you're working full time. You have a fashion line, and then you still want to volunteer, but there's always time. What I mean by that is, for example, let's say today, like, there was a flood in the house. You'd have to make time to fix it. So when people say there's no time, you make time for what's important to you, what's valuable to you. So at the same time, I don't get to volunteer or provide as much charity as I would like to. But when I can, I do make the most amount of time where I can.
For sure. So looking at your education, you have a bachelor's in urban and regional planning from Ryerson. You also have a certificate in architecture. You also have a certificate in management of fashion and luxury from, you need to pronounce that school's name for me.
University of Bocconi. I'm not the best with pronunciations. I have a speech impediment.
I'm like, yo, I literally put in my notes, have her say it, because I don't know how to say it.
I did that course actually online off of Coursera. And that course, I was brilliant. It helped me really streamline and understand from a managing standpoint and planning how to more so manage my business lines into different streams.
Also, it wasn't so much about like fashion trends. It was more so like the behind the scenes.
The managing, just understanding. For example, a lot of the products that I create would be considered haute couture. They're more like art pieces, right? Whereas like fashion has different lines to it. There's haute couture. There's more like diffusion. Then there's ready to wear. So that basically helped me take all of my current inventory and group those into the right categories. So then they're properly priced, properly promoted, marketed, such forth. And that course, I would say what I really got from it, it helped me understand from whether it's a fashion brand or luxurious brand, there's kind of two ways to go about it. Either you become a cult, sounds a little crazy, like Apple, or you're a lifestyle brand, right? So that definitely has informed.
It's true, but you know what? Even with things like Apple, like I know that I buy into the brand of Apple as opposed to like, because if you look at an Apple phone, there's Samsung parts in it, but like Samsung is killing the game in terms of phones, but I think because I've had bad experiences with Android, it's like once I have a bad experience with something, I automatically go to like something else, right? So
the competition.
But I know that I'm buying it, and it's like Apple comes out with like, wow, now we have a touchscreen, and like people have had touchscreens on the market for like 15 years, you know. So, but you know what?
I can't lie, I'm an Apple. I'm an Apple user.
But you know what? That just goes to show you that even with fashion, that branding is huge, and once you've established that relationship, you have a lot of power in terms of like people, like leverage. The market, right? Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is how have you been able, like obviously you're passionate, you're able to do all these things, and you can kind of pick your creative, like you can kind of use your creativity in different fields collectively, but how have you successfully been able to actually merge fashion and urban planning or architecture, stuff like that?
So the long-term goal, I actually provide consulting.
So
what that means is technically, let's say if you are a realtor, like a retailer, so you have a fashion line, such forth, and you're looking for a place to locate. I would basically be the individual that you'd come to, because I not only understand the planning approval process, like which approvals that you would need to get, but as well the permits that you need to get, right? So if you're looking to, let's say, locate in a mall, I would be able to say, okay, well, this mall is properly zoned for the type of use that you have. And from an interior perspective, these are the type of changes and permits that you would need to get. And so, it's kind of being able to provide consulting for fashion individuals from a planning standpoint as well as design to understand, like, kind of understanding from a zoning bylaw standpoint and building code, like what is needed for you to build a flagship. Whereas if you're building a storefront, or if you're just like, occupying a kiosk, right? So
That's so dope.
That's the merging of it all.
Sorry, go ahead.
What I want to say, so they're actually I actually try to search people who do things of this nature. So Jansen and Goldstein, they basically are like the biggest architectural luxurious firm, and they more so started with more like residential developments and such forth, but now like they're the ones who do all the Saks, the halts.
Really?
That's correct, and that's internationally worldwide. But if you go to, let's say, the States, instead of them having halts, they have Barney's, or they have like Lenox Mall and such forth. So understanding the different like the different retailers and from a luxurious standpoint in like internationally, then helps you understand, for example, who then goes through those approval processes.
I think that's so cool, because you're thinking like 3-4 steps ahead of most people, because most people get very like zoned in on the one thing that they're doing in their field, instead of developing into this multifaceted person. Like I think even like the founder of McDonald's realized that even though he had experience selling and he had experience with like the food industry, he realized that there was more money in buying the properties than leasing them out to people. So like there's so many ways you can look at it. And even myself, like a lot of people are like, looking at the show and kind of stuff like that, and they're like, wow, the show is great as hell, but then I also had to teach myself social media strategies, like how to build your following, how to use ad marketing, how to use, what's the best time to post, right? So if you're well-rounded like that, whatever you're doing is kind of bound, it's kind of like it's bound to be successful, right? So
I would agree. I would honestly say that in every experience in life, that's why I always say life's like it's a lesson or a lesson.
Yeah.
There's always something you can take for it. There's always transferable knowledge. You could be honestly working at a warehouse. I worked at a warehouse myself when I graduated from school. My parents got at me for so long. You have a degree and you're working at a warehouse. But honestly, I learned a lot of valuable skills about logistics and getting things shipped, let me tell you, in that job.
Yeah.
So there's always something you could take from every opportunity and every experience that can be transferred to, let's say, your more dream, your ideal role.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of to segue into like, being a young person, you kind of mentioned at first, your parents weren't kind of like supportive of just like the field because they wanted you to get something more practical. How did you push past that? Because you and I both know, especially like in the South Asian community of Malton, a lot of kids are just straight going towards being a doctor and to being an IT person because their culture, their parents want them to do that. Yeah. How did you kind of like, obviously we love our parents, but like I even disagree with my parents, but like how did you kind of fight past just even people, like, whether it was parents or even friends kind of just not really on board with your passion?
To be honest, I had to experience it. And what I mean by that, I had a lot of, sometimes we have pressures and influences in our life that we do not say realize, but we don't realize how they impact our decision making.
Wow.
So it wasn't again until I finished school, I was working at the warehouse, and then my mom has the best intentions for me. I know that 100%. By far.
Yeah.
And she would all the time, she would find postings. I don't know how she'd find them. Have different jobs, government related, and be like, Allison, apply for it. You're going to get benefits, this, and that. And literally, not to say I kind of did what I was told, but I would apply for the jobs.
Yeah.
There was this one job. I think it was with the Ministry of Ontario. It was administrative related role.
Yeah.
And I remember the deadline to finish it was at 12 o'clock. I was getting my resume together. You had to do a behavioral analysis and provide your diploma uploaded. And not to say I got angry, but while I'm searching for my diploma, I really said to myself, I am not going to put no time and energy into nothing that is not fully fulfilled with what I want to do.
True.
So I kind of took a stand. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not applying for the job. I'm like, I'm only going to apply for things that I actually want to do because
100%.
From a satisfaction standpoint, I could not imagine going to a job every single day, 9 to 5, that I hate just for, not to say for, to appease to my family, to my friends, but I would be living life.
Wow.
Right?
That's
so
facts, yeah.
When I actually said that and I believed it and I actually practiced that, that's how I really feel now I'm getting jobs in my field that I want, right?
Yeah,
because I actually really want them. It's not I'm not being told to want them, if that makes sense.
So, you said you're someone who is a mathematician, you love numbers.
Yes.
For the youth individual who wants to get on the same line like you, they want to get into the fashion industry specifically, what's some practical things and tips you can give them? Is it all about the numbers, or is the passion going to drive you ultimately to where you want to go?
Passion is lovely, and I'm very passionate about fashion, but passion doesn't pay bills. And we live in a money-oriented world. Yeah. So as much as we can say sometimes we're not about the money, we do it for the money. That's why we go to work every day, right? So money is important. Money is everything, but it's nothing at the same time. So what I would say is someone who wants to go the line of, being an entrepreneur in fashion, I think is very important from a branding and marketing standpoint to have a firm foundation in it. Yeah. And those skill sets, knowing how to brand and market, can not only just be used in fashion, it can be used in a lot of different other fields.
Very true.
So being a designer and being able to manage are two different things. It's even from the standpoint of architects. There's a hierarchy to being an architect. It's usually the principal architect who's managing the architects is the one who's getting the big bucks.
Yeah.
And the ones who are the not co-op, but doing interns, they're the ones who are actually doing, not to say the real work, but they're the ones doing the work and getting the peanuts for it, right?
That's true.
So it's important to not make your decisions based on the money, but make decisions that, from a practicality standpoint, make sense financially.
Yeah.
And it's funny now that I've gotten much older. I have to make decisions sometimes. Hey, do I go buy new material for this new design that maybe is not guaranteed, or do I pay my bills?
That's true.
So there's a balancing act. As much as I love fashion, I got to do things that make sense. So
you got to be smart, strategic.
That has forced me to become very resourceful because especially being in fashion, which is not only just male dominated, if you don't have mass purchasing power, you got to pay to play.
Yeah.
To be part of any of these shows, you're paying at least $1,000 up. That's not including creating the garments, paying people, getting the material.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that massive purchasing power, you have to learn how to become very strategic, and you have to understand how to be very resourceful with the resources that you have.
And not to give away too much secrets to your, you know, your brand, but like,
Yeah.
is it like a consistent, like you have a consistent supplier, or is it like you're always on the go trying to figure out, like you might refine your strategies, and maybe this supplier has a cheaper thing or this supplier has better quality, but if you buy in better quantity, like, is there like a formula that always works? Or?
You know what? There's not a formula to life, but the formula that I've used, not to say it's what makes sense. So I do a lot of traveling. So a lot of times when I travel, I use those opportunities from a business standpoint to find different materials and such forth. But it makes from a practicality standpoint to get it done, let's say in China, wholesale. But at the same time, then my brand could not, let's say, necessarily be like a North American brand, and the quality might not be the same.
True.
Because you are not say taking on risks when you decide to, like, you know, manufacture elsewhere, but there's no patents in China. If you send your stuff there, they can make the 15 different versions that they want to make of it, right? Yeah. So what it comes down to, this is a perfect example. I have a lot of fabulous ideas about making different textiles. But for me to actually make my own textile, one textile would be about 30 yards.
Yeah.
China would be more interested in, let's say, Givenchy, the designer, who wants to get 50 textiles of different materials than just me, one person who wants to maybe get 1 or 2 yards to sample it out first, right? So I've had to basically find ways to still get to my end product that I want, but being more just resourceful about it. Like the perfect example is, I'll give you, not to say a hint, but a perfect example is florals. A lot of like, so getting fabrics that would actually have the material actually ready printed on them, or it's very hard. There's a process to go through. So I've actually, my manager, when I was actually in culture planning as an assistant, he introduced me to a friend of his who was actually selling curtains. The curtains were all floral prints, and that's actually one of the new collections I'm going to be making. But those fabrics you will not find anywhere. But at the same time, those are the types of fabric types that are being used now when you see trenches and such forth, right? So it's knowing, like, fashion and upholstery go hand in hand a lot of times
it's
too.
Taking, it's taking something that seems like nothing and making it something.
Yeah, because even like if you're going back to blinds and curtains, a lot of the details are accents that are used to, like, you know, push back the blinds, or sometimes used as details on actual designs, like these feathers or something along those lines, tassels. So that's what I've basically been resourceful in that way.
So, you know, obviously, in even prepping for this episode, something that you told me that was, you know, very important to you was friends, family, people like your boyfriend, stuff like that. So who are some people that really speak into your process? They can be close. They could even be like famous people that kind of really inspire you to be you.
That's a big question. I think I'm a very non-judgmental person, so I like to look at people's experiences and their journeys as lessons in, like, you know, my life too as well. So in terms of like who influences me, if I would let's start with people that I know first. Georgette, my sister, she's a major, I think, force, I would say, in my life. We talk on a daily basis. It's funny, we're both air signs. I'm a Libra, she's a Aquarius. So we just like bounce our erratic ideals off of each other every day, all day. Aside from that, too, my older sister, Tanya, she's been a very like heavy role in my life too. And then my mom. So from a female standpoint, the females within my close circle have been very influential in terms of like my decision making, in terms of like how I grew up and how I think about things and such forth. Aside from that, I will say that other individuals that have influenced me, there's a lady by the name of Miss Hani. She lives in the States. She's had a precarious lifestyle, whatnot, but it's really she is an entrepreneur herself, and it's like, it's not to say nice, but it's very interesting to watch people's stories, their struggles, and seeing how they deal with it, and like kind of the messages that they're able to then give back. So I wouldn't say she reminds me of myself in any way, but just like her stories are very compassionate, and it really has expanded my mind and my thinking. So she's been a major role. Aside from that, I don't know. This is like a
you know what? It doesn't have to be absolute, because, you know, like, if we're here all day, I mean, there's multiple, like 50 plus at least for myself. But
and then my boyfriend, like, he just puts the fire under my ass all day. Like, he calls me a fake designer.
Wow.
So, right.
He just pushes you.
That's okay.
It's like fitness trainers are like, you can't lift out.
Until I made him a trench jacket, which I have not released yet. Now he's not saying nothing. Let me tell you.
Because he thinks it's so dope. So you're this awesome person with all these awesome skills. You're confident. What's something that you're kind of working on as a refinement piece on you? Like, we're not always perfect, and sometimes for me actually is I'm learning to go to bed on time earlier, and actually I'm doing that thing that CEOs do where they wake up at 5 every morning, but I'm going to bed at like 9 because I'm realizing that I'm going into work and I'm doing all of these things at the end of my day, but I'm realizing that I can do them in the first 4 hours of my day instead, right? So what's something that you're working on for you right now?
I have a lot of things. I'm definitely nowhere close to being perfect. I honestly, not to say struggle with being motivated, but I have like waivers. Like what certain days I'm so inspired, I get a million things done, and other days I get nothing done. So like it's understanding. I'm trying to, or I'm learning to not let my emotions or how I'm feeling for that day dictate my productivity.
True.
So that's the one major thing. Secondly, I will talk about my time management. When I say time management, I am not a morning person. I don't like actually to be told what time to do things.
Yeah.
And I've actually realized that even like, let's say on the weekends, I will wake up like early and I will go about my day. But in the week when I have work, I don't want to wake up. So it's like a control thing that happens in my mind. So time management, like I like to be in control of my time. But again, when it comes to the decision, when you're either working for yourself, then you can't control your time, or you're working for a body entity.
Yeah. So last question before we go into rapid fire, and something I ask all my guests, and it's not to say that I look back and I second guess this, but if you can go back in time and the first day of grade 9, what would you tell grade 9 Allison Morris just about to enter high school? If you can give her a word of encouragement or maybe something to refine on that now you have this knowledge that she shouldn't have done, what would you say?
I would definitely, I don't know exactly what I would say, but I would definitely speak to just being more confident, not care what people think and say, because as much as let's say in high school, like I was pretty popular, I had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
At the same time though, it's like, they always say stick and stones may break your bones, but words not. But words like, they would resonate with me, right? So like somebody's put too much care and thought into what people actually thought or said about me, and it wasn't until I really was able to grow out of that, that's when I feel like I really was able to evolve. So I would tell myself that you're the shit. You do whatever you want. Don't listen to whatever they say to you. And I probably I maybe would have been a little more daring to actually just went to school for fashion instead of trying to use urban planning as a coy. But you know what? It worked out all the end, right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we reached that time in the episode where it's rapid fire. So first thing that comes to mind, and we'll start with, we'll see where you're at with.
Okay.
Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Okay. Advil or Tylenol?
Advil.
I don't know if you like superhero movies, but DC or Marvel?
I actually don't know what DC is.
Okay.
So Marvel. Sorry.
Wow, I'm not going to have any DC.
What's DC? Sorry.
So DC is basically like Batman, Superman. It's that universe.
I will say Marvel. Yeah, I've watched Black Panther. That's Marvel, right?
Okay. Oh, speaking of Black Panther, like how dope was your outfit for like going with Black Panther? Did you dress up or you just went like?
I wore some of my Nubian Divine Royalty collection. Yes.
You're probably the best dressed there.
Of course.
All right. Fashion Nova or Yeezy?
Yeezy by far.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to a summer party and you have to wear something from your catalog. So are you rocking Manifesting on Mars or Peaches and Cream?
Manifesting on Mars.
All right. I did my research. Favorite place you've traveled, local or international?
I will say Aruba. Aruba. That was like paradise. Yes.
Okay. Favorite book you read or are reading?
Ooh, so the favorite book that I am reading and that I have read partially is Why Men Do Not Like Women Like You.
Okay.
I would suggest you read it.
All right. We can drop the link down in the description for all our women out there. Favorite fashion designer besides you of all time?
Yves Saint Laurent.
Favorite song right now?
Favorite song?
Like that you're listening to?
Popcorn, my type.
Okay. Who is one non-mainstream designer that everyone should go right now and follow on IG or follow on like?
Ooh, I would say Badu. So he's an African designer and he does a lot of unisex apparel.
Okay, awesome. Top 2 throwbacks that when played at a jam you turn into a different person.
Wow. First of all, I have to pick like one hip hop song.
Okay.
So I would have to say that would. What song? Oh my god. It would have to be like a song from Atlanta first of all, a trap song. So
any. It doesn't have to be your
Dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional. Okay.
Future, Young Thug.
It comes on and you're crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Dysfunctional.
Okay.
And sorry, second song, reggae song. It would have to be like a bookshelf rhythm, one of those like
all right.
old school, like, you know,
All right.
80s, 90s.
Yeah. Not that it has to be exhaustive, but one of the most influential people on your life. Who's that person?
Influential. My boyfriend's actually really influential. It's about a year that we met each other.
Wow.
Like, he's definitely been very influential,
awesome.
I think, to like my glow up.
Okay. If you could go back to a single point in your life, what day would that be? Just for like one day, you can go back to it, take a time
And
machine.
relive it?
Yeah, relive it.
Ooh, I would say that would be, oh my gosh, that's hard. I like every day. It would have to be, I don't know, maybe, oh, I know. It would have to be when I was 21 when I went to Miami.
Hey, nice.
It was for Memorial Weekend, so it was the first day in Miami. Yes.
Okay, nice. So if there was a movie on your life, what would the title read? And then I'm going to ask you a follow-up.
Learn life.
Learn life. Okay. And if they got an actor to play you, who's your celebrity look-alike that you want? Or they don't have to look like you, but who you want to play you?
That's a good question. Maybe Lupita?
Okay. Oh, nice. I love Lupita. If you could have coffee or tea or whatever your drink of choice is with anyone from any point in history, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's big. I don't know. I feel like I should say Tupac first.
Yeah.
No, but anyone dead or alive? I would honestly say Tupac.
Tupac? Yeah.
He's very interesting. I would just love to
And I think he was
know and learn
yeah.
more, especially in terms of his conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I'm a conspiracist.
But he was just woke beyond like
Yeah.
people in that era, right? If you could be any animal, what animal like do you resonate with?
Okay, so I have a few spirit animals.
Okay.
First of all, I'd be a unicorn because I'm not real.
I like that.
Second, I'll be an ocelot. So that's my favorite animal. It's like a dwarf panther.
Okay.
And just because I like their pelt.
Oh,
I would
yeah, I know
never
what you mean, yeah.
use animal furs in my designs. I do not.
Corella de Villa.
And third, I would be, I think, yeah, maybe a dolphin because they're the smartest mammal.
Okay. I like that. If you could like put them all together, you probably could. But
Yeah.
name a song that when you hear it, it puts you in your feelings.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Complicated by Nivea. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my tune.
Mine is like Marvin's Room by Drake. But,
Oh yeah. Too many memories.
no, totally different story. If you were stranded on an island, what two things would you want with you?
I would not. First of all, forget electronics.
You wouldn't be stranded.
No. That exactly. Because when there's a
You're
will,
too smart.
there's a way. There you go. I'm a planner.
There you go.
Never lost. Two things I would need. That would be. Honestly, I wouldn't need anything like, not to say physically, like I wouldn't need any man-made goods.
Yeah.
It would more so be like, I would say people-wise and like food. to
Okay,
be
there you
honest,
go.
Yeah.
Nice. So what style did you rock? Looking at all the styles you rocked, the phases you went through, that you look back now and wish you never rocked.
Oh, wow.
That was in style.
You know what? At the time, I liked it. So I feel like it's not a regret.
It's part of your. Okay, that's interesting.
At the same time, like when you said this, there was a picture that like flashed in my mind. It was in high school. I think it was like on the last day of school. Maybe it was like grade 9, grade 10, and I had like this pink tie dress on from Casablanca, and I had like matching tights and like different hairdos. I used to go to a lot of like those jams, like a Willy Bounce.
Yeah.
Those pictures,
Yeah.
those videos. That was not me. But I used to like over color coordinate, if I must say, like
okay.
earrings, bubbles,
Wow.
socks,
Okay.
beads.
So what fashion trend is in style right now?
Ooh, what's my favorite fashion trend?
Yeah, that's in style right now. Or yeah, I mean, like what's recent?
Yeah, so my favorite maybe style right now, I'm so into two pieces onesies with the overcoat. So what that is kind of like having pre-made outfits. It's no different than 3-piece suits.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm really into the matching, like the matching garments. So it's like whether it's a matching skirt with a matching top, pants, blazer.
Yeah.
So it's like the ready to make, like the ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is something that most people don't know about you?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot. I'm not mean. A lot of people are intimidated by me. I don't know
They
why.
think just fashion designers are just mean like that? or-
No. There's a lot. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm misunderstood, just in the sense that as much as my brand is about confidence and like building yourself. The journey of my brand is what's made me who I am.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not perfect. I don't try to glamorize. I don't put myself on this pedestal that I'm better than anybody, that like I've not gone through the same struggles. So
yeah.
One thing that people don't know is that I'm human.
There you go. I like that.
Because people think I have superpowers sometimes. Like
Drake or Pusha T?
Funny that you say that. I would have typically said Drake. I'm still listening to I'm Upset because I am upset.
Yeah.
But sorry, like Pusha T. I honestly, prior to I've listened to Pusha T's music. I've not saying I've not been a big fan, but I didn't actually know he's a part of Clips like Grinding. So
yeah.
It's a Pusha T thing still.
I know, I felt that way too, to be honest. I didn't really even like the
There's no loyalty nowadays. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really like the for me. Even before the lyrics, the beat has to be good. I just didn't really like the dubby beat, to be honest. It's not where he's at. I don't know. What job would you be horrible at, or are you just super confident that you'll do everything well?
I'm good at any job I take on, but what job I'd be horrible at a job where I really had to like fake being who I was. So what job? This might sound a little bit funny. I would be horrible at a job where I feel like I was being unfair or like selfish towards people. So not to say I would be horrible. Like being a boss comes with a cost, right?
Wow.
So I am a boss, but like that job is like to be that.
My sister's throwing up gun signs in the back when you said that.
To be actually like fulfilled at like to be the best boss that you could be, you are, I think, compromising maybe some of your self values. Yeah.
Honestly, even when you just said the boss cost thing, I'm like literally sitting here and I'm already calculating all this, like the Instagram clips of like all these facts and bars. So I'm loving this.
It costs to be a boss.
So lastly, if your life was a book and your life, the title of your book could be something. First, what would the title of your book be? But what's the title of the current chapter of your life right now? So sub question.
This chapter of my life right now, I would say, would be titled Spartanique. That's what the collection is called, because I've gone so what I will mention, maybe within the last like 2 years where things with my brand have been much more booming, I did a total of 3 fashion shows in 4 months last year, or 5 months, and I was burnt out, let me tell you, after. So I just took a step back, break. I did, some custom orders, whatnot. But that gave me an opportunity to reflect, thinking like, what's next? Yeah. And then reading, why men don't like women like you. Yeah. So, creating my shawl line. That all, like, this is all speaking to my spotter up. Become a spotter, yep.
Okay, all right. So we reached that point in the episode where it's guest corner. So this is your chance. You have the mic to plug anything you want, social media, or maybe any last thing you want to say to our listeners. So the mic is yours.
So first off, I'll start July the 4th. Make sure you check out www.neek.ca. That's when I will be releasing the official Spartanique collection. In the interim, I'm putting out posts, whatnot, but it'll be actually ready to purchase as of July the 4th. Aside from that, I'm actually launching a few more campaigns as well. One from Trinidad and maybe one for my next vacation the next 2 days too as well. So yes, check out neek.ca. My Instagram is moxmo.nique. My brand's Instagram is Neek X Boutique, and I can be found on social media, on Twitter as Neek X Boutique, on Tumblr, Neek X Boutique. I have Snapchat, Neek Laurent. So majority of my handles are Neek X Boutique. You find me at Neek Laurent.
Okay, and we'll include all the links to that, especially like the direct link if people can go buy some of your stuff, and we'll get that to you definitely when the episode drops. So before I conclude, something that I just want to always do with my guests is give you a word of encouragement, because you can be self-confident, but sometimes it's nice to hear it from other people. And I've already kind of segued into a bit of that throughout the whole episode, but one thing that I love about you is your hustle and no excuse mentality. I feel like like I said, it's not to say that gender inequality is not present, but you don't use that as kind of like a crutch to or as an excuse to not be where you are today. And I think that your level of confidence, like I said, your level of confidence and just like, what can you lose? Like if you put it in the application or you try that,
exactly. You have to go take the job.
Yeah. And I think I've talked myself out of so many things, but some of those conversations you really helped me get through, just having the confidence in myself and not second guessing yourself out of something. Like, at least you can say you put in an application or you made that choice or you tried it instead of being in a place in your life where you're like, I regretted that I never did something, right? So you're an inspiration just by what you're doing. And even if you don't always have the time to make an Instagram post or write a blog, like people are noticing your thing. So you're an inspiration. I think like I said before, your mind is just like so creative to the point where I'm like, what else? Like I'm gonna be excited to see, like, in 6 months, you're doing so many things, and when we catch up, and I'm excited to see in 10 years how many things you're gonna do.
I'll be living on Venus then.
Your ability to balance so many things really encourages me as well, because sometimes I get in my feelings and I'm like, oh, I can't do this, can't do it. But I'm just like, you know what? No excuses. There's people out there who have so many things, even with your boards and volunteering and all that kind of stuff. You make the time and you make it happen. You don't make excuses. And just I think I only see you continuing to just keep reaching and getting bigger positions, and I'm excited to see like how you continue to merge this, super dope government worker with your super dope fashion line. And I'm glad to be on the sidelines just saying I know you, and then when you get super famous, and not that you already aren't, but I mean, like, when you're at that level where you feel like it's kind of like the pinnacle, I'm probably gonna have to go through like your PR person and get you back on the show. But
never PR for me, Matthew. We don't do that. We don't have brand new.
But you know what? Like I said, like your hustle just is so. I'm happy to watch it. I'm happy to say I know that I know Allison. So I just want to encourage you to keep doing your thing. And I mean, you already know this yourself. You don't let people really speak into your life in a negative way. But yeah. You're just doing so many dope things, and I give you honor for that. So, like I said, guys, anything that Allison has going on, we're gonna drop in the description. But Allison, I just want to thank you so much for being on the episode, and you're gonna be elevating the show just by your presence here. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Matthew. Like, when you reached out to me, it's so funny because I think I was on the phone with my boyfriend, and then you messaged me. I'm like, yeah. Honestly, I was waiting for the invitation, but I don't know. Since I've seen your journey, this is a pleasure. Like, honestly, I really appreciate
that. Have you been on any podcasts before?
I've not, actually.
So this is your first podcast?
My
Yes.
First
so
podcast.
When she blows up, I'm gonna be like, this is gonna go viral.
Number one. I made her.
Then when you're on the Breakfast Club, you can be like, hashtag real community talks. No, I'm joking.
Of course. No. This is only the beginning of everything, let me tell you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here.